the TV.
I think this is good. Yeah, just a little bit over more, so I'm just not blocking whoever's over there. Well,
Oh, shit, clean those.
there we go. I think that's good. Well, let me turn the power on again. I think it might.
I have to scoot over one.
Yes. How to look around
Perfect.
Scott's head.
Oh, sorry.
Well.
No,
there-
stay there, it'll be all in this, guys, no big deal.
Well, you've got,
Well, we'll see if Mary and Megan show up.
all right, we are live on YouTube and on Zoom.
Okay, so we're ready.
Ready to,
Oh, do I need a microphone myself?
oh, it's not on.
Take.
Take mine. Since you're the chair.
PowerPoint or not, there we go. I was just. You want to see it here? Why, you gonna scoot down one? I can scoot down. All right, Rich, we can.
Good. Jay, I knew you.
That way I'm out of everybody's head. One time no seats.
Yes, I did. You good?
You gave no, you gave up
Yeah.
your chair.
And say, how many mics do we have down that way?
Lots.
They all recongregate. Okay,
Yeah.
let me know where the extras are.
Should I just grab this one?
Yes.
Yes, they all, what Courtney said, so that's completely fine.
Okay. So we're just waiting for Heidi.
And screen.
Probably should just get.
Can be whatever.
We can get started. Okay. Once Mary gets situated. Are we ready?
Ready.
All right, call to order Board and Finance Committee meeting. Open session public meetings are subject to being recorded. Your image and voice will be recorded. All right, the first item of business is the minutes from last meeting.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the last meeting.
All right, any further updates on those? Any modify? All right, roll
Same.
call. Scott, aye.
Julia.
Cliff, I.
All right, pass 4-0. I get that.
Good county.
Yeah, right this time.
That's why he's on the
I didn't want to go just, I didn't want to go,
travel.
Yeah, I was somehow, I thought we had
I
six.
didn't want to go deeper into that, I just.
All right, so we can get started with the
Oh.
our first person up for the building inspector. All right. We have our budget up here.
We do. All right, take it away.
It's a level funded budget other than the 2% cost of living increases. Permit software went up $403. That's a contract. It was a 3-year contract. I think this puts us into year 3 on that contract. And other than that, I think everything is the same as last year.
And
Can you share your screen so people on YouTube and Zoom can see?
I'm
That-
only mine goes black now when I hook into that. How do I?
Oh. Okay,
Yeah, it's really weird. Can I share my screen? I'm going blind from here, but okay.
just with the camera, it's just white. We can't see the figures.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Right.
well, yeah, you guys can look at it from the Zoom perspective. I suppose that works too, right? Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, I was just gonna add, we are looking at the possibility, well, we're gonna have to look for quotes for permitting software. The likelihood that it will stay at that low rate is slim to none. Rich kind of legitimately beat them down into that price by saying we were gonna have to get rid of our online permitting because I believe they wanted $20,000 and you got them down to 7, 8, and 9. And I doubt that we're gonna be able to get another 3 years under $10,000, which will push us into the need to get the 3 quotes anyways. So we did contact actually one company called Permit something, which iPermit or something?
iWorks.
Nope, not iWorks. Nope,
Oh.
not that one. Permit something. I can't remember the name of it, but also we have the annual conference in Boston coming up next week where they'll have literally hundreds of vendors there. So gonna have some of those conversations too, because we'd also like to add fire to the permitting module, because if you're building a house and you're doing something comprehensive, you can go online and get all of your building permits, and then you have to do paper to get whatever you need from fire. So we'd like to incorporate that, but the price on incorporating fire was upwards of $20,000. So just wanted to add that for you.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, so as Kristen said, this would be the year to start interviewing and looking into different software packages to see if there's something better out there that can incorporate more departments for similar money, or is there any better software out there? The current one that we use now is very expensive if you are buying it now. Another community I work in, we got a price from them and it was like 26,000 a year. Again, I think we're paying 9,000 right now for this coming year.
Yeah, nine.
And when I first started here, it was over 11,000, and I got them down. And then the last 3 years, we did enter into a different contract that it's going up 5% annually right now with them. So that's my big expenditure is the permit software. It's very nice to have. It makes it very convenient for all the users, being the residents, the contractors, the inspectors. It's nice to have, and it's important that we have it. But again, I think this would be the year to start vetting other contractors, being software contractors, to see if we can either maintain a reasonable price with the one we have, or at least put out the competition to see if we can work on a reasonable number for future up cost increases.
Is that something you could consider, the fees on the other end of the user, that if it jumps up like that?
Well, that's kind of how we got to having software, because we're $10 per thousand of value of a project. So that's kind of the norm in the permitting world. Some years we have some big projects, we bring in hundreds of thousands, and some years we're on the low side of, 100,000, 120,000. So it fluctuates quite a bit. So it all depends on the year of what's going on for projects.
Okay, so the cost is exclusively based on the value.
The value of the project,
Project.
right?
Okay.
But what I found though is if you're going to change softwares, it takes about a year to get a new one on board, but then to upload all our information, convert everything over. So again, July, actually our contract is August. So starting August, we'll be starting our 3rd year. So if we're going to do a change, we'd have to get working on it so that next August we can just hopefully seamlessly switch over if we are switching.
I can pull up the gas and plumbing if there aren't any questions on the building side.
Other questions?
What did you say the standard was on the per how many dollars of the project? Those numbers again?
So our permit fees is $10 per thousand of value.
I thought you
of the
said.
project.
We have to come up with a startup costs. When we switch.
You do, so that is a if your first year of implementation of a software, you do have an upcharge for them to create the software for us. That includes uploading all our information, all our GIS information, our permit forms, everything else. That can be $4,000 to $6,000 all by itself.
So that we would definitely have to factor into the quotes that we get, which may make this company still competitive, depending.
Right.
So is that a conversion fee kind of, or is it just startup? They're different they're
I don't know if
It would be converting our existing
conversion.
data, I
Yeah,
think,
it'd be
to
kind
the
of a
new
combination
software.
there. They're gonna take all our information and put it together, and plus they have to carry forward everything that we already have existing.
Yeah, well, that's not bad for conversion costs, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know how much data we're sitting on.
Yeah, we have building and it's linked into our assessing software Vision right now. Those are the only modules that we have. Obviously, building includes plumbing, gas, electrical,
Right.
all of those.
So we have 10 years of data, 5 years of data, maybe?
This is
on
our
the-
second
on the
contract.
building.
With the company we have now, we have 6 years.
6 years, okay.
Um,
That's not bad.
they carried over our old GeoTMS,
Oh, okay.
which you can see there was a permit pulled, that's about it. It
Ah,
doesn't,
yeah, not
there's no
much data there.
substance to it. It just shows that there was a permit pulled and where it was and who it would buy it.
Yeah.
There wasn't much meat that came with it.
Thanks, Richard.
That is kind of a problem when you get with one of these software companies, all your data, they're holding your data,
Hmm.
and then if you go to another company, well, how do you maintain that, and keep that? Like you said, we got 6 years of data. So they kind of try to hold you that way, I guess.
Right, it's sort of in the mutual best interest to stay with the same company, but
Mhm.
procurement rules make us get the 3 quotes if it's over $10,000, which, I mean, by the time we're into 2026 and we're at $9,103 right now, we're gonna be pretty close to that, so.
Okay.
But we'll see, because it saves us and, there's a savings, and we don't have to fight on data migration and all of that.
Right.
They get to keep us, so.
Was that maybe why they went under $10,000 in the first place to prevent us from having to go out? and
It
stuff?
could be, I think that's all Rich actually on that.
Well, it was because, again, initially our software, when I first got here, was 11,700, something like that. And then when COVID kicked in, that's when I took advantage of COVID and I told them that, listen, we're going to cancel you because of all the uncertainties. And at that point, I was able to get them down to, I think, 8,000 in order for us not to just drop them. So took a lot of work, but I took advantage of the situation and said, we're going to cancel. We can't afford it. We don't know what's going to happen. And so they worked in numbers and got us down to 8,000. So we ran 8,000 for a couple of years. And then this last couple of years ago, then they finally came in and said, oh, you're out of contract. You don't have a contract with us anymore. So then they put forth this contract and said,
Which we were happy at 8,000 for as long as they're willing to charge us that price. so.
every August I'd open the mail like, oh, they didn't go up. They didn't go up. Leave it alone.
Have to have a contract under 10,000, so.
Yeah.
But hey, we always try. I mean, even just today, I have to tell you, the community and businesses have been really wonderful with the Assabet project.
Mhm.
The minute you mentioned kids and a vocational school project, and I have no problem, mentioning that to see if companies will participate in the community effort. Because I figure if you don't ask, the answer is definitely no. And we were renting that temporary heater. We got it for half price because we said we want to keep the kids warm. Is there anything you can
Cool.
do for us? So, hey,
Good.
good kudos to John Polino, who managed to
Mm.
get them down to half price. So we always try here.
So one thing when you're having been through a series of conversions of proprietary software, handling like critical data sets, big critical data sets. One of the features that I always looked for and usually could find was that you could pull your data out in a report into Excel, and then from that Excel, load it into the new software. So that's a feature in talking to companies that offer software that does this, to see if that capability is available.
Okay.
Because it gives you a lot more flexibility when you need to move into a different product.
That's a really good point, because they usually have to give us our data somehow, but they could give
Yeah.
you like a
They-
PDF printout of thousands of pages, which
Precisely,
is not
yeah.
helpful at all.
Yeah, little less desirable is something like Access, Microsoft Access, but the Excel is really terrific.
That's really good to keep in mind.
Yeah, and it, for people, the software people actually handling the conversion, the data people, it makes it easier for them to do that electronic moving
Migrate
around.
it over.
I got a couple of software people, I should be quiet, but
Mm.
maybe you haven't been on the
I
user
haven't
side.
had
I've been on the
to do
user
it
side.
for a long time.
Yeah, it's painful.
I wouldn't even,
Can be
I wouldn't even know like if Excel was still the standard
Yeah.
for,
Yeah.
the conversion. That's how long it's been since I've done it.
Yeah, it'd just be a matter of having whatever is kind of the standard for databases that could be, that are common. Just when you, right, when you get to the proprietary, people come up with their own thing. They know they can lock you in and then,
It's in the cloud. It's like, thanks. What format? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. to
Well-
check out.
Yeah, I'm not promoting Microsoft by any means, but
Mhm.
it is such a common
Yeah.
platform that a lot of these proprietary, especially if they're focused on smaller kinds of things like, I don't know if this is Massachusetts where you have building codes or it's a national building code kind of software, but
They're nationwide.
yeah, okay.
that We use.
okay,
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm gonna guess it could be done if they were willing, but
Don't worry, Rich will fight him. He'll get the data
I know
for
he
us
will.
if we need it. I have no doubt.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Looks good.
anything more on, or I mean, we got the revolving.
Yep, so there's, sorry, I'm so confused that I can't really use my computer. It's confusing. So there's the revolving fund and then, there are expenses for, this is for the, plumbing and gas inspector, looks like.
Yeah, so both the inspectors have basic little expenditures for meetings and dues for the different meetings they go to, different associations that they're part of. So we carry $300 for the plumbing and gas inspector. Occasionally they'll go over because it might, if there's a code cycle where there's a new code book, but I absorb that on my side of things. Rather than, every third year when the codes come out that I increase it $200 to cover their books, I just keep it stagnant so that, again, I could typically absorb it on my side of things.
You're level funded on that one. And then I think the last one is the electrical. Just revolving. And 600.
So he carries a little bit more on his dues and meetings, I think is just actually cost more. I think they meet more frequently than the plumbing and gas inspector does.
I think that's it.
I'm free to go.
Well, no, I don't make the rules. I just meant for the FinCom, that's it for the building department, budget spreadsheets.
Yeah, I don't have any other questions. Anybody?
No, I don't have any.
No, it looks good.
Seems very straightforward.
It's a pretty straightforward one.
Right?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Good luck with the rest of them.
Mhm.
Yeah. Kicked him right out. By the way, Heidi did mention last week that she couldn't make it this week.
I couldn't
On this-
remember.
I forgot to say that earlier. She did, she clearly said that to me and I'm remembering it now.
Okay.
Okay. So I believe Fred is the next one up, but
Yep.
he's not quite here yet. Get his budget pulled up and ready to go.
Oh, we're waiting. Is any other updates? Progress here? I know it's only been a week, so I know, trying to get our free cash number. Was it end of February, is it, or that? is this- Your goal?
Yes,
It's
that's
6 weeks away.
the current extension, but we're
trying.
doing our best. Still basically the same. I've been building the budget now. June has given me the last of all of the budgets that she has reviewed, except for a couple, one of which is the FinComs.
No.
I didn't know how to say that one systematically, but
Relate, is that what you're telling us?
yeah, a bit.
Yeah. Very, very.
So I funded you.
I think we're usually.
I could actually bring that up.
Well, actually,
that
the one that is of significant, of course, the reserve fund.
Yes, so that's 110,000. It's gonna take me a minute because I have to remote log in here, but you were at 110,000 for the reserve fund last year, so I tentatively put in a level funding for that this year. And then I believe your other one is, what is it, 180? 180 for the regular FinCom budget for
I think it's
dues.
The dues, yeah. for the-
Yeah.
Yeah, and the last dues were pretty close to the, just under that, so we probably have to incrementally.
173.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Mm.
170 something, so we will
Yeah.
need to.
We put it up to
bump that up.
200.
uh,
And I think that the classes now that are still available, are they still free online, I think, on most of them?
Certainly,
They're robust now. online,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
for
I
sure.
think so, June. I do look at the DLS emails and I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure they are.
Not, I don't think all of them,
No,
but I think that the majority of them are,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think more for our purposes, they're probably sufficient for the free ones.
it really was helpful though to sit in a room for a day and have the overview of not having any public finance background to come in and do that. It was really helpful to have it.
Before DOR went online with all of their modules, I actually had the privilege of attending the one time they called it. Did you go to that?
What's new?
What, no, in
it's the new, officers or
2014,
something. Yeah.
they did a municipal finance like workshop that was like 4 Fridays or 8 Fridays. It was like an
Oh.
all day thing, which was great in the beginning. Why is this not going? Sorry, this is a little clunky. It was great in the beginning. Yeah, I know you don't like it. You know, when I was just starting out doing all of this and, but now I think it's more accessible being online. Plus, I do have to say, sitting there for 8 hours talking about municipal finance is a little bit mind numbing as much as I actually do enjoy it. Sorry, no offense.
So where we come up, so do we want to just look at bumping to 200 from 180? For our requested?
That was my guesstimate.
Yeah, I mean, it's 173. I mean, it's been a small incremental increase, but by the time we expect that small incremental increase, it'll suddenly hit a little higher
I think that makes sense.
than
Does
200.
some helpful person prepare a little paperwork for this committee? Is that what happened? Is that what
Yeah.
you're looking at, Scott?
I don't know if
Okay.
this committee will approve a $20 increase. You're gonna have to ask the committee.
Alright.
Well,
So the,
that's a little,
I'll put the motion
over
out
10.
there to
10%.
It's not a
That's
level
over
funded budget.
10%.
Put-
It's not
put
level
a,
funded, Scott.
dues request of $200. We have a second.
I'll second it.
All right, any other discussion?
All
All right, we roll call, Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Julie, I.
Cliff, aye.
All right, we're 4-0, so we'll do a,
Let's see what the TA recommends.
I don't even know who signs what here.
I think you sign as the chair.
Is that,
You can sign
Department
whatever
head?
you would like to. How's that?
oh, so is it appointing authority? Would that be Barry?
I don't
Yeah,
think-
actually, but yeah, you don't need it in this case.
So was I hearing correctly that our budget also carries what? No.
The
Other-
reserve
The
fund.
where the reserve fund, that's where the real money.
Yeah, that's what I was
being.
just clarifying.
Yep, that's you, separate one.
Okay, but we don't know that number yet, or do we?
Yes, so
we
it was
do.
110, well, your reserve fund was 110 last year. So I tentatively put it in as level funded. But that is for you all to decide and discuss and vote on.
Give this to you now.
I was gonna say.
Everything like hurting my-
Yeah, we're in for a level funded right now for the reserve fund, and I don't think we need to
We haven't gone
consider
over
anything
or
anymore.
gotten close to it. And knock on wood, the legal budget is, I'm recommending a decrease of $25,000. You know, that's the one that's always a little shaky. We did go up because we had a number of things going on with regard to conservation, River Bridge, that have been settled. And we are right now tracking at, I believe we are at $29,000 halfway through the fiscal year for legal. So we're really, able to be stringent. And our regular spending on legal was stringent in the past years. It's that extraordinary expense. So I think, rather than having an overinflated legal budget, it makes sense if we have something urgent that comes up that we come for a reserve fund transfer. I would prefer to have that $25,000 to go to something in the budget that really needs it. Given that we didn't use it this year and we have nothing on the horizon that, knock on wood, that I'm aware of right now.
Okay.
So would that mean that for the finance committee reserve fund, we may be considering reducing it for the coming year as well?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
I know you were talking about the legal, but you had mentioned that we hadn't approached the 100 on the read.
It's a worthwhile discussion. I can tell you, one of the conversations at the select board was for me to kind of keep in mind a list of areas where we may potentially reduce if we need to. And so one thing that might be good for us to look at is how much we have spent, say, in the past 5 years, and do a little bit of a trend analysis there and see how close we came. Is that something you can run for us, June?
Yep.
All right. I mean, I can put you in if you like at level for now, and then,
Well, we'll probably just do it at level. Do we want to just do a motion for a level?
Yeah.
Or so we want to do that?
Oh, I'll move that our fiscal 26 budget for the finance committee be
Reserve
level.
fund.
Reserve fund, reserve fund be, I was gonna do the whole budget, but forget it, okay. Reserve fund shall remain level. With fiscal 25.
110,000.
At 100,000,
110.
110,000.
In
Yeah.
fiscal 26.
Yes.
And this is a motion for our fiscal 26 reserve fund that we,
practice.
that we,
I will second that word salad before it gets worse.
Like it.
All right. So
100,000.
the motion is
Fiscal 26, same as fiscal
reserve
25.
fund for fiscal 26, remaining level funded at 110,000. Okay, any other discussion? Call. Roll call, Scott, aye.
Very high.
Julie, I.
Cliff, eye.
All right. That's 4-0.
They vote on.
And you're doing 200 for,
We already made the motion.
Yeah, we already did
We already
that.
did that
Oh,
one.
I'm updating the spreadsheet now that it's finally opened because it took forever.
All right, now we can get to highway.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Too bad. A little cold.
Yeah, you think?
But you got the right shirt for it.
Yeah, but it's got that quilted stuff.
Yeah.
Flannel or fleece.
Oh, we'd rather flannel or fleece.
I
Yeah, it is
they
warmer
pulled
now.
up. Which one does Fred want? Which one would you like to do first, Fred?
I got public buildings on top.
All right.
We can do
pull
it
up
all.
public buildings.
May as well do the worst one first.
Remind me which number public buildings is, Fred?
192.
I know it's going backwards, but I don't know all of the numbers off the top of my head.
I don't think we changed anything since we submitted.
Nope.
Okay.
I'm just gonna share my screen. If you give me a second.
So when I did the spreadsheet, I did it on an Excel page, so I don't have the differences actually listed on the sides.
So you've got an overall increase of 10,987.
Yeah.
And let me pull up your spreadsheet. Yeah, I figured that was an element.
Okay, so the majority of the contract increase prices, they ranged from 4 to 7% with every company I called, but I couldn't get an actual number from them. So everything I based mine off was 7% being the maximum amount. Hoping that it wouldn't come in that much. And those are the elevator service, the vault, the generator, fire alarm monitoring. Testing, fire pump sprinkler test, that's just, a once and done per year. Which is why the elevator service had gone up. Like I said, I don't have the actual number. Over 2,000 for that one.
Is the generator connected yet to 1870 or functional?
Yes,
It is
so
now?
we had repairs made to that to bring it online.
Yeah, I know last time we had talked, hadn't been
Yeah,
actually working or connected, I think it was to the building.
yeah, we actually chose to do it because it started getting busier with more things going on, and it's
Okay.
like, we need it up and running. So that is working again. The generator service. Oh,
It's Wednesday.
Boy Scouts? Oh. Yeah, so those are the contracts.
Then look, that for miscellaneous repair and services is the next. The other half of that increase, like 5,000.
Yeah, the miscellaneous repairs. So what I did with that was, why that looks like it's such a large increase. When I had to come back to get extra funds at the end of the year last year, for my overage, I took that amount and added it to what I had already budgeted that year, to start with this year, knowing that we weren't gonna go down with it, which is why this one went up. And if it works out, hopefully we don't need it, but I already know that I'm gonna run short again this year. With all the breakdowns we've already had. That the idea would be to do the same thing next year. Whatever I run over, I would add into that, because the cost of everything, there's never been maintenance done. Everything's gone to like the end. Until it's
Yeah.
broken.
Like what are some of the examples, like or major examples?
So recently we've had one of the hot water pumps, break, so that needed to be rebuilt. Last year, that's another reason why we ran over, was pump number one had to be rebuilt last year, and then the motor had to be rebuilt once that came back. And that was up around the $5,000-6,000 bill. Pump number two just got redone, and that was to the tune of 5,100, I think. Actually, today, I think I submitted that one today. We've had two doors over at the fire department. One of them completely had to get replaced because the bottom corner of the door had rotted, and the spring, the tensioner spring had broke and the door shifted. Well, the door parts are obsolete, so the only option is to replace the entire door at the tune of $9,800, I think is what they are. And I had put in a capital request to replace two of the doors for this coming season. And we were gonna do that for the next few years until all the doors were done, but all this stuff is happening to the doors. The ambulance two door, the carrier that the door rides up on came apart. So that was one of the doors getting replaced, but now that has a new track and maybe a different door getting replaced.
And some of those, a lot of those things are things that we were doing maintenance on, you've incorporated maintenance into, but unfortunately, things are old or maintenance hadn't maybe consistently been done over the last 20 or 30 years. So, we're catching up now, but
Yeah.
it takes time.
I had just had the doors PM'd in August, coming into the winter. And that's just coming through, checking the tension of the doors and things like that, making sure things are lubricated. They didn't get into like the nuts and bolts of everything. But that's something that was never done. The only time things were dealt with was when it broke.
Yeah.
Thinking that before COVID, though, I think there was 20 or 25 for miscellaneous repairs in the budget, and then when COVID hit,
That's right.
it totally got like done, because couldn't get anything fixed anyway if you wanted to, so.
Yeah,
I think that was a big hit, cause I wanna say we've been gradually increasing that over the years.
Right, we started with
Right.
10,000 and
yeah.
adding it back in and building it back up. That's a really good point. I forgot about
Cause
that.
I wanna say there was like 2 years even before that, but we hadn't really done much of anything or gotten to it, cause we were. Was it short on the highway guys
Yeah,
for a little bit too, so.
and even with the 10,000 that you had granted last year, I far exceeded the extra $10,000.
It's like we make the baby step, but it's not quite enough.
Yeah.
Or not nearly enough.
Yeah, that would have been, I think, the 2 repairs. That would have been the water pump and one other thing, and that extra $10,000 was already gone.
Yeah.
It's discouraging.
In my opinion, this is the hardest budget to estimate because, you know, we are catching up with preventative maintenance, but we're finding things are breaking, you know, for years from not necessarily doing it. And also it is difficult to anticipate everything that might go wrong in every building in town. So this is a budget where one of the things I'd like to discuss with the FinCom is, do we continue to do as we do, where we come forward for a reserve fund transfer if anything exceeds that 31,566? Or another option that I've used before is to actually put together an article for maintenance. And you replenish it at town meeting annually as it depletes, and it comes from free cash. So it would be unexpected, unanticipated repairs that go above and beyond the budget. And it's something we were talking about for fire because they're having issues with their vehicles that are unanticipated as well. So, you know, one of the things I've done before is I've seen articles where you put 25,000 or you put 30,000, you don't necessarily use it every year. It stays in that article, carries over from year to year. And then as it gets low, you re-up it again at town meeting. So it's a different approach. But it pulls things more out of increasing the budget by an unknown amount every year, takes that uncertainty a bit out and gives kind of a cushion. Because I know Fred really hates going over his budget and I don't blame him. And I know he hates what I say, but I tell him all the time, I'm like, that is the hardest budget to estimate. It really, really is. So it's something we can discuss as we
We have
make our
actually
way through.
Done that with the library. We were
Okay.
Giving them small Mm-hmm. amounts. Like 5,000.
Well, and we can start smaller too. And I did discuss this with capital, because the fire chief actually put this in his capital request. And they said it's really not capital unless you have a single item that goes over $10,000 that has a useful life of 5 years or more, because that's capital's policy. So capital was fine with putting it as a standalone special article with the understanding that should there be an item that meets their definition, that it goes to capital.
So I was just curious what we've done in the free cash context, and it is in our guidelines to have special article. Not more than 150,000.
Yep.
It would include recurring non-capital special article funding such as hot top building maintenance, master plan updates, snow and ice deficits, so on. So it kind of fits in that bucket.
I really think it does. Another thing, a couple other examples of things we've done, like the duct cleaning we put in,
Yeah.
because that was something we don't do every year. We put in the FY25 reval that we have to do, the 5-year revaluation we have to do of all the real estate properties in town, because that's a one-time $55,000 expense of a lovely unfunded state mandate. Those are what I would call, you know, non-capital special articles. And I think these types of expenses I was mentioning would fall exactly as you said, within that category.
So you would use a warrant article and then fund it from free cash in that, within that
Correct.
guideline.
Yeah.
Constraints, yeah.
With the understanding that if it hits the definition of a capital item, it needs to go to capital.
But would it still get funded through that fund? Or?
Yes, it would just require that additional layer of oversight and approval from capital. Sorry, I jumped in.
No, it's totally fine.
So I got a question for you, Fred. I gotta get Kristen to move up a couple
Oh,
lines.
up, sorry, I was
Up a
going the
couple
wrong way.
lines, yeah. On the water testing, I was curious, where is it?
Annual water testing. It's
Yeah,
underneath. septic
PFAS,
pump.
PFAS is, significant, and we've just started doing that, haven't we?
Yeah, well, the PFAS, so we haven't been required to test for it yet.
Yeah,
The very first time I put it in the budget was when they were like starting to, you will test, you will test. Well, ours hadn't come up, so we hadn't used it since, which is why I carried it in case we
Yeah.
do get that paper saying you need to test you to.
right,
public.
right. So when we, and that, the other, water test line, I keep losing it. I don't know.
The annual
There it
water
is. Thank you,
testing.
Scott. Yeah, are we testing the town wells like here and at the barn and stuff like that? What is that?
The only two
cover?
we do, so we have two places listed as public drinking water
Right,
is here in the library. So they get tested once monthly,
okay,
and they get sent off. We get the reports back, the lab reports.
okay,
And they have to be posted up here. And what comes with that is part of the DEP sanitary survey,
Mhm.
which we just had here this year. I didn't know we had one already, because that was before my term. But there were 5 items that were supposed to be done within 30 days and only 1 got done. So we got spanked pretty hard. We still haven't got their final report back, but everything that was supposed to be done then has already been corrected. Pictures were taken and sent off. So she's been making notes that, whatever the deficiencies were, they're now correct.
so they don't consider the guys over at the barn public, that's just like,
Yeah, they don't care
Something
about us.
I should say you and the guys, right?
Yeah, they don't care about
Okay, so that's library and, here,
in here.
okay,
And then the schools, they do their own testing. Same company does it, just
understood, yeah.
their thing.
Can I ask kind of an off the wall question?
Sure.
I forget the details. I should be more cognizant of this. But down in the Rotary area, what's it called again? River Bridge?
River Bridge.
The town was purchasing land that had wells on it.
They're looking into it somehow.
We have an option to acquire 2 parcels up there, one of which has 2 wells on it for $1.
So additional water testing would be going on.
That would be they actually have been permitted as public drinking water sources previously. They are currently inactive, but as part of reactivating them, yes, there would be testing and DEP requirements that would need to be met. The good news is that they have been recently permitted as public drinking water supplies with that testing until they were quote unquote, not decommissioned, that's not the right word, but just a few years ago. So
So the budget we're discussing wouldn't be affected by that.
well, we wouldn't use those wells until if and when we either sell some water rights or capacity to make some money, or we use, and we intend to retain some of it for potential future town development. The planning board has discussed the possibility of putting a couple of small, either like workforce or cottage housing, like 5 houses down there. So at that time, that's when we would have to look at funding for it.
Okay.
It's a good question though. Because,
I
Yeah.
hear the word well, but.
yeah,
I think, my sense from the December special town meeting, Cliff, is we're not gonna look at that in the fiscal 26 budget, so.
oh, that's a ways out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, we
so-
have to get
so
the
we're-
conservation restriction
I-
amended first, and that's gonna be a bit of a bear.
Yeah.
We have connected with someone at the state finally, which is great, and we're in the process of submitting that application, so.
Super, super.
And that's something that then has to go to town meeting for approval, right?
It's gone to town meeting for approval already. It has to go to the EEA for approval, and then state has to approve it as well.
Yeah, but what we do with the land next, like if we make the offer, do we still have to go to town meeting or do we
It's
already
under
have
the
the?
purview of the select board through the development agreement that exists with River
Okay.
Bridge. But yeah, if the planning board were to do any type of rezoning or anything like that to put a subdivision in there, that would have to go to town meeting.
Mhm.
They don't have anything specific from what I understand right now. They've spoken to a couple of potential developers, but believe it or not, well, I guess not believe it or not, you know this, the market, it doesn't bear putting a small housing development in at an affordable price. I think the cottage housing they were looking at putting in, which was about 1,200 square foot houses, were coming in at like $600,000 a piece, which I don't think is affordable necessarily by anyone's definition. So it kind of died, at least for now,
But maybe considered affordable In the-
depending on the future, right?
in the marketplace. That's actually becoming the affordable.
It is.
Number.
It is. But I think the scalability of what you'd have to get that number under 500,000, which is what they were hoping for, is larger than the land they have and
Right.
the project that they were
Yes.
thinking of, because they're not
Yes.
thinking of a big project down there. So that's all very just hypothetical discussion at this point.
Sorry I brought the wells up.
Mhm.
I can go with that.
Hmm.
I appreciate that all this maintenance is being done.
Mhm.
You know, buildings are an investment, and to let them not be taken care of is not only a shame, but it's not fiscally sound.
Exactly.
Um,
But yeah, that's where
Good
we
point,
first
Cliff.
cut money
Good
when
point.
we have budgetary constraints. That's the first place to go. Cities and towns are historically and notoriously terrible at maintaining their buildings.
Schools too.
Yes,
and we should take pride in our buildings. And you can't take pride in them.
If they
There's
look bad.
too much wrong with them.
Good job, Fred. Keep doing it.
Yes.
Keep doing it.
Mhm.
so that's expense by building.
So the bottled water one, that went down because at the end of the previous year, for some reason, it's usually 42.40, I think. Every time they get a delivery, towards the end of the year, for some reason, it had bumped up to 50 something. Which is why it looks like last year was a higher amount. So this year. The majority of the expenses were running back at 42.40. So I based it all off that.
Water man.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There shall be no drinking.
You may have
water
one
during work
bottle of
hours.
water per day.
Mhm.
The boiler vessel inspections, that went down because we didn't have as many to do this year. There's actually 5 due by the end of January. And then, which means we just got 2 extra for next year to get done.
I love the spreadsheet. Thank you.
I'll try to actually get it done, so like in the original one, it actually shows you the difference on the side column.
I know, that's.
I'm sure that's something you can put together.
Breaks it down by building though, which is great.
Um,
You guys have any other questions, or would you like me to switch over to highway?
I'm good.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, very good.
Oddly blurry, but
Yeah, it does.
it's messing with my eyes a little. Oh, there we go. Okay,
Good job.
I'm not gonna touch it now.
But at least can. Well,
Is there a copper change then on that one? I promise I'll do better next year.
It's another year, add it on. Sorry, kid.
We extend our sentences.
Actually, how many columns were there? That's 6 months per column.
Stop.
Hey, just, you know, I wasn't gonna go there. So, so some of the things that increased this year, were tires. We have, 2 loader tires we have to purchase for one of the tractors. Our construction trailer needs them. I believe there's maybe 6 tires on that, and then the white service truck needs them. So that had an increase. Some increase. A uniform rental, again, that was a contract.
I said, oh, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah, oh, sorry.
Okay. No, I'm sorry. I had the first one pulled up.
Those are the big wheel tires, right, Fred?
Yeah. Yeah, they're insane.
They run like 50,000, don't they? What
No, they're
depends on that?
between 4,000 and 5,000. Yeah, per tire.
Oh.
It's ridiculous. I don't even like buying tires for my own stuff. It's like the biggest waste of money.
Mhm. Fred, money. Just do
There you
this
go.
to-
Sorry. I was trying to clear some of the
Oh,
debris on the screen here and
Gotta have
apparently
guys
I.
stop leaving skid marks when they were.
So Fred, when you come to these tires, is it because of the amount of mileage or that direction showing where, which?
yeah, it's all wear.
Okay,
So the light service truck actually should have been done before winter, but we're gonna struggle through the winter. The same with the loader tires, those could have been done 2 years ago,
mhm,
but they still had enough meat and they still passed inspection.
mhm.
But I figure after we go through another year, we're not gonna be able to make it. We do have one spare that we do swap out once in a while, should we have an issue with it.
Mhm.
And the construction trailer tires, have never been replaced since we got them and they're completely bald. So
So those tires don't owe us anything, right?
definitely not. They came with it.
Ah, well, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that was bought as a used trailer. And then obviously the majority of the stuff, I was telling Chris and the cleaner, degreaser and things like that. We're not gonna need that for at least another year because, you know, we still have plenty left from the previous. Which is why it shows some of those go down. Parts and repairs go down. As well, because we still have, like, we stock certain parts. Of the most common things that seem to break down a lot. We always got a second, should something happen if we needed it. The oil, grease filters, that went down as well too, because again, we have filters left over. The oil drum that we have at the garage was filled last year, so we shouldn't need oil for 3 years anyway. The uniform rental and the boots and clothing went up, anticipating, well, we had hired Ken to come up full-time to highway and backfill his position. This is to make up the difference in the uniform rental for him, and the boot allowance.
Are you doing good with, keeping employees or, I mean, I know before we're having some problems.
We actually have, we haven't had anyone leave in about a year and a half.
And all the positions are filled.
With the exception of trying to get Ken's position here filled. June's been helping, she's been a great help.
I gotta work a little harder on that.
But yeah, we're actually in really good shape, manpower wise. And it's great having, the seasonal workers do come in, the college kids that come in, we had 3 this past summer. So it freed us up to continue to do everything we got done.
Cause you have a ton of mowing, right? So like that just would take you away from
Oh, yeah. Well,
everything.
it takes them, there's 3 of them, it takes them all week and they still haven't finished. Cause we have the cemeteries, all the ball fields, the Legion Hall, the library, that little corner of Pleasant Street and 62, the Rotary, the community garden, like everywhere. So it's great having them. And it's good because the last season we just got his license. So now we don't have to double him up in a truck. They can all go where they need to go.
And that was an add to the budget. Last year was the third seasonal
Yeah.
for the summer, which has been really obviously helpful.
And the good part, they've all asked to come back if we have them. So what else had gone up? The cell phone's the same thing. We anticipate if we had to. Oh, that one came down. I'm not sure why that one came down. I'm sure there's a reason. Yeah, I just don't have an excuse for it.
It went down, so that's fine.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
We don't need the reason. It went
They
down.
like decreases.
Yeah, that went down. It's a good thing it went down. Um,
No need to explain.
yeah, no.
We're less curious about the decrease than we are about the increase. Although it is nice to hear about decreases.
Yeah.
Nice to hear the story.
So the street sign in the post, I actually increased it 600 because it seems like there's a lot more sign requests coming in.
Yeah.
Nowadays over this past year about different things throughout town. I've already been approached by a few people about adding stop signs in different areas. The post alone is like $52. The signs, depending on the size and what they are, they could go up to $140, $150. And that's not including the hardware to install them with. So that's why that one went. Hopefully, we're not going to need it all. Because we got a project that might be happening down at Marlboro and Gates, where the state may be supplying the signs for us. We just have to install, which would be fun. So the basin block and everything that went down because our big pipe job is done. What we have left over should be enough that we can rebuild basins if we find any that are collapsing over the year. The same with frames and grates. The guardrail and bridge maintenance went up a little bit because we have guardrail that we need to install down on Route 62 by Berlin Farms, the one that sells the donuts and things like that. Right there were a couple cars that went off the road there and rolled over. We had a highway study done on Lancaster Road. There's 2 sections of guardrail up there that don't meet standard. So we have to do the improvements up there for them as well, which is why this one went up. Yeah, same with stone and gravel. So that went down because again, what we have in our bins down the transfer station would be enough. Should we have to do a small pipe job or a basin job? The increase for that for the previous year was we anticipated doing the drainage job. So that's what that went for. The Skyworker, we didn't put in, or we kept the same because it gives us the 6 days for him. And the reason why we kept him is because our bucket truck only goes 65 feet. And a lot of the trees that we have are like another 25, 30 feet over my head. And if they're doable, we've managed to get them on the ground. If there's ever an issue or is a question, we'll have him come in and he can manage more of it. That we actually, I could have decreased it more this year because we didn't use him as much last year, but we also had him come in with his saw truck, which alone is $2,700 a day to come in. And that's the one that'll actually go up, clamp the branch on top of the tree and cut it and bring it down. We used that on 2 occasions and that swallowed up quite a bit. So I didn't want to decrease that this year until we see what this coming year is like for our tree season. The garage tool stayed the same. The excavator and a hammer we were able to remove because again, we're done with the drainage job. So we don't anticipate having a hammer anywhere in the streets. The stump grinding we kept the same because we're going to be having our tree hearing this coming 21st, I believe it is 21st of January. And there's 182 or 183 trees. Not all of them will require stump grinding, but we still have stumps from last year's list that we never get around to do. The concrete, the bituminous concrete basically is hot top. I just took a ton out of it because we didn't use as much of it. And we actually started using one of the accounts that was listed as miscellaneous hot top and equipment. I think it was. Because that had a pretty high budget, or high balance, which was funds left over from when one of the other superintendents got the hot box. And it's just been sitting, so we've been paying for all our hot top out of that account instead of trying to take it from our budget line. The American flags we didn't put in for, because we had just purchased the ones that we needed. I'm hoping, I have to look at what we have left.
Except.
We do have to replace one more, this year. But we should still be in pretty good shape for the one that we have. Cause they get usually about a year and a half. The one that takes the biggest beating is the one up in the center of town, because it's just naturally bigger.
We've been trying to keep it down for President Carter, but it keeps getting tangled, and then people ask why it's not at half mast, and then they put it down and it gets tangled and now it's ripped. So yeah, which is, I'll take the hit with that one, because I message Fred whenever someone goes, why is the flag at half mast? So
Yeah.
now we've destroyed it. So
And that brings us to the end of the expense one there. The building supplies one, obviously it's like office supplies, the printer, paper and ink, was a $25 increase for that. And the other stayed the same. We took out the bathroom cleaners because again, we have enough, to clean our own bathrooms, paper towels, toilet paper, that sort of thing. Stayed the same. I think that's where we're on our expense end of things. I do, but
Yes.
it's for raises. I think that's the only one I put together.
There is a request, so for step increases, which
Yeah.
we did discuss, putting the step increases off for right now. In general, basically any non-union employee step increases have them held until we have more budgetary information. We just did the 2% COLA for right now. I'd love to come back and revisit that, but you know, flying a little bit blind right now. I don't want to commit to something and then not obviously be able to follow through. So leaving that one parked for a little bit.
Yeah, I believe that's all we had for highway.
Would you like me with snow and ice?
Have anything? No, very thorough.
The bucket truck, do you want to talk about that or no?
Sure,
Just,
I can chat about the bucket truck real quick. So the bucket truck is, I don't know if, I'm sure you guys are aware, it's the shared truck that we share with the town of Clinton. So we're supposed to put in equal amounts of funds into the created account. I wasn't sure if they had submitted any or not, but we had put in 5,000 last year. And I forget the exact number that it had, but it's right around $1,900 for the dielectric testing, and the things that we need to keep it certified, as you know, the aerial has to get certified annually. It's $100 for the state inspection sticker. So we have enough money to cover, you know, another 1 year, as long as we don't have a breakdown, which we do now. Then we'll be in good shape. I wasn't sure if Clinton was putting anything in or if they had the previous year. But I figured we had enough funds that we could keep it sufficient for.
Build them. They have not sent us the funds that we requested in the last fiscal year. My recommendation was to reach out again, continue to invoice them. They really don't use the bucket truck very much. And I'm finding they are a bit difficult to get a hold of. So, I mean, they use it to hang flags. They're not actually using it for tree work.
Yeah, they haven't used it for tree work. They hang in banners and things like that around town. They actually just wanted to pick it last week, but the pump for the PTO started leaking, so now that's up in New Hampshire getting repaired. But they were only gonna take it to fix the flagpole.
So not anything that would really cause damage or overuse of the truck, like tree work or anything like that. So we'll keep trying. But
How much have you billed? I mean, how?
$5,000. We're supposed to put an equal
Right.
amount in, so we billed the $5,000 for this fiscal December 30th for 25, and then we'll bill again for 26. Who knows, maybe we'll get 10 in 26. We'll put last year's bill in too.
Okay, pre-bill,
That's true.
so we have money for the start of.
Game for that.
Try.
Hmm.
It took me 6 months after I started to get the agreement signed by the town, and it had already been voted on.
So we house it?
A little bit of a challenge, yes.
Yes, we have
So we use
custody of
it,
it.
what,
Yeah.
95% of the time?
Oh, yeah, yeah, that thing was out so much, even over the summer. Our major tree season is now.
Mhm.
I was just late getting the tree list together to get it out to hearing. But once we have the hearing, if it's okay to go through with it, then we'll be out there probably the next week, giving it a steady diet.
It was a regional grant, so that's why there's a 2-town sharing thing going on.
Yeah,
It's a good thing.
yeah, it's been very beneficial, just the money alone, having our own.
Yeah.
And being able to do it, and when National Grid came in, and took their trees out, that was a big cost savings for the town, helped us out quite a bit.
Do you know when they're back again, National Grid?
So the big cut that they just did, they won't be back for another 4.5 years. Brandy Long is due to come back in again. Their division just does the trimming.
Mhm.
I'm not sure when that'll be. That's like every 2 to 3 years. I think. So they may be due this year or next year.
What's Brandy Long?
She's actually the girl that we deal with through
Oh,
National
okay.
Grid. So she's in charge of that division of it.
Okay, you mentioned National Grid, I'm thinking,
Oh.
like, what? Not familiar with this.
Mhm.
This is snow and ice.
All right,
Of which we have none.
I know it.
Yeah.
It's been okay.
Tropical.
Don't say that, but.
You know what's weird? I don't have an expense sheet.
I think you could sit out you should just do it on the summary.
Well, I have that. Oh, yeah, all right.
Yeah, cause
Yeah.
you really don't have much.
This is the revised one where you went up on the salaries,
Yeah.
wages.
Yeah, so this year actually went up 600 on the plow blades and bed chains because we have the one bed chain and 2 blades to change. One actually just got done today, which is why this cost went up. The snow and sand, we kept the same, even though we have a chance of getting less because the contract price went up between $10 or $12. So from 68 to 70 or 62 to 76, 78.
Yeah.
I think somewhere around there. So we kept that the same to try to stay within the levy budget.
A multi-year state contract, but they're allowed us a price escalator in it, so it can go up a bit.
Yeah, so that's what we had for that budget.
What was the primary thing on the full-time wages increase? And it was just looking to be competitive or?
The new highway or additional highway employee, right?
No, so that one would have been, so the increase, so the original one was, the full-time, yeah, was 48,896. And June had given me the idea, which I never thought of before.
That's
Our building maintenance operator, we never had overtime figured in for it. So if I had to call him in to shovel out the buildings, there was never money that I could pay him with. It never occurred to me because I was doing it. So we revised it and added in 75 hours, which should be more than enough during the winter to come in and just maintain the doors after hours.
And the rest is just the 2% increase that's consistent
Yes.
with the salaries.
And that too had the supplement for should the raises go through. There's one of them with it.
That was the first one without the overtime for the building maintenance.
I give you a copy of that one? No, you didn't. I just.
And that's the supplementals to adjust for the raises that they go through. There's only one supplemental, right, Fred? Yeah. That's it.
Yes.
So that was it.
The raises there was only what, 763, which I fast went through.
Oh, yeah, sorry,
We're some already at like the highest number or something.
763.
Oh, this is just on snow now.
Right,
Yeah,
to be
okay.
comparable to if, they get raised on both sides of the coin, if you will,
Yeah, because they're gonna expect their overtime to get.
of course, at the new rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks
So-
good.
Anybody have any other questions?
Yep.
No, it's all
All right.
nicely done, very clear.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Nicely done.
This is your highway and building.
That's it for tonight. Great.
All right. I think we already had a little bit of time probably on the updates, so. We're all set.
Oh, I'm sorry, reserve fund.
Oh, reserve fund.
Reserve fund transfers, which you may or may not want to take action on, but we want to at least get them on your
Apologize, they
radar.
were finished up late and I didn't get a chance to send them out to Kristen. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Fred.
See you tomorrow.
I'll look for you out on the road.
Thank you, Fred.
night.
Do you want to walk?
So we did have two reserve fund transfers come in today. That are actually one is for the the treasurer collector expenses. Due to the fact that we've had to do some reconciliations for the last year's worth of books. It has costed extra money that was not budgeted for in the budget. So she is requesting 17,325.
And I'm sorry, is this for wages or for?
Expenses. It's a consultant that we've had
For the
come in to
consultant,
help with
okay.
the reconciliation process.
So the good news with that is I have spoken with our insurance company. I think I mentioned this before, and once we have completed all of the expenses, I'm gathering them. I've been tracking them all in a spreadsheet. And when we're done with the reconciliation, we're submitting everything as a package to the insurance company. And that will go against the bond of the former treasurer collector.
Enough said.
All right.
And they told me it's very likely, he said, that it will be approved based on the discussions that we've had so far.
All right, so good chance we're gonna get this money back. All right, so the motion will be request for under treasurer collector expenses, reserve fund transfer request of $17,325 again to the treasurer collector expenses.
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion?
Not I,
All right, roll call, Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Julia,
Cliff, eye.
All right, passes 4-0.
Hi, thank you. All right. And the second one that came in, Kristen, you may have to elaborate on this because I didn't talk to the chief directly about it, is a reserve fund for $12,000 for fire EMS expenses in regards to some repairs on the emergency vehicles that are needed.
So there was an issue with ambulance 2 to the front braking system of the truck that failed in the last week of December, which was $4,000. And then engine 3 is currently out of service, and the repairs are needed to the front steering box. Things you learn, $6,300 plus 1,000 to 2,000 in labor to remove the old and install the new. So this ties into the conversation, or what I was mentioning earlier, was having that article for fire vehicles along with potentially public buildings would be something that this could come out of. You know, or it can go through the reserve fund. I think that, you know, merits some further discussion, but we don't have that obviously now, so it would have to go through the reserve fund.
These have been our first reserve fund transfers.
You
We had a
actually had
small
We did? that's right.
$123.
Right, at
for
the very
schools.
beginning for
Yeah.
that's a bit. Okay, so the motion here is transfer from the reserve fund $12,000 to fire and EMS expenses.
I'll second that.
Okay, any other discussions or questions?
No,
Okay, roll call, Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Julia,
Cliff, I.
All right, passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Yeah, that's
Yay.
Thank you, ma'am.
You had a stretch.
That was it.
that's it.
All right, we stay in session for the duration of the signing.
No,
Yeah,
you need a motion to adjourn, is that what you're looking for?
Yes,
So
I thank
moved.
you. I'll second that motion.
all right.